CTV Channel 6 is proud to present the Roundtable. What's happening in the city, what's going to be coming up in the city. Roundtable gives us a chance to sit down with some celebrities, public officials, people who are important to the community.
My fifth term.
Yeah, it worked out. 5.5 months as the sheriff.
We're a public agency.
We needed a program where we could have a little more in-depth time, find out more about them, who they are, what they're doing, find out what their thoughts are, and let you have a chance to get to know them a little better. Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable. My name is Paul Dingham. I host this program which appears in Marine City and St. Clair, now also throughout northern Macomb and all of St. Clair County and Comcast Channel 12. We welcome you to the Roundtable program. Each time we have this program, we try and spend a little more in-depth time with some very important people who are important to our lives in St. Clair County, in Michigan, and sometimes even in the nation. We have those kinds of guests here today. We want to welcome back to the Roundtable set the Chairman of the Board of the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners, Mr. Jeff Bohm, and the Administrator and Controller, Mr. Bill Kauffman of St. Clair County. Welcome back, gentlemen. You were here a while ago. You can put a date on it and a time when we were talking about some exciting things that were going to happen in St. Clair County with the Thomas Edison property, and I think that's pretty well coming together, isn't it, at this point?
Yeah, I'm going to let Bill, he can elaborate a little bit more on that, where we're at and kind of time frames and how we're going to continue to move forward.
Great.
Sure. Last week we closed on the sale of the property, the portion that we're going to be purchasing, as well as the private developer. So that was a huge step. So now the county is the owner of a portion of the existing Thomas Edison Inn, as well as some land that we'll be developing into the conference center. That will hopefully start going up next year, early next year. Our next steps, the county's next steps, is to finalize some contracts for some of the design work and get that design in front of the board and the public as well. And hopefully, shortly after the first of the year, we'll be ready to start bidding the work out. All the work will be bid locally.
Wonderful.
And hopefully we'll see some construction in the spring, at least on the county's portion.
The plans that we first saw a year or so ago included a 40,000 square foot convention center, a new restaurant, or change the name to the restaurant, change the name to the hotel. Those things are still all in place, right?
They're all still part of the project, yes, along with Baker College and the Culinary Institute. That will be at the southern end of the property. So yes, they're all involved. The hotel, though, I think probably since the last time we spoke, the hotel has upgraded to a higher level as far as quality. It's the Holiday.
It's a Hilton Garden. Originally it was a garden, and now it's a Hilton Doubletree. A Doubletree is actually a higher end property in the Hilton franchise.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So, yeah.
They'll have room service, full service 24 hours a day, and we thought, in as much as we're trying to lure some high-end conferences here and workshops to the convention center, that it would be nice if the hotel were to provide full services, those types of services that business people expect when they go away somewhere. So this is a great complement to the project.
There's a whole market, a whole niche of group of people who go to conventions every year, but they go to Grand Rapids, they go to Grand Rapids, they go to Grand Rapids, they go to Traverse City, they go to Traverse City, they go to Traverse City. So there is certainly a market for us to have a newer facility, something different for these groups to go to.
Sure. And one of the things that we did very early on in this project was we met with a conference center market research specialist, an individual named Bill Kruger out of Minneapolis. And we brought him in to do a lot of the research you just mentioned, to call meeting planners and find out, what are you looking for? What do those people that attend your events need? Have they heard of Port Huron? Have they been here? What would it take to lure them here? And as a result, we ended up with what we think is an ideal plan of what we need to move forward to hit that market. Just what you've said. A lot of people are tired of going.
Well, you like something different.
Sure, you like something different.
You really don't, because in different meetings that we've had, you really don't have a bona fide convention center, so to speak, on this side.
Well, that's correct.
When we met with the individuals from SMG, for example, SMG is a group that actually runs Cobo Hall now. And they came out because we're in discussions with them as far as a professional management group, possibly coming in to manage some different facilities we had. And that's the one thing that they had said is understand Cobo Hall. And be quite frank, a lot of people don't want to do their conferences in Detroit, and there's just no other facilities on this side of the state. So they see it as a huge market. And a lot of these conferences we're talking about are the state and regional conferences. We're not going after the auto shows.
So, Democratic convention or anything like that.
Because realistically, you're talking anywhere from maybe 800 to 1,200 type of participants. So it's the smaller state and regional ones that do move around the state every year are really our target market. And I think if you talk to a lot of people that even live here locally, sit on some of their different boards, you know, that they may be part of, and we've had tremendous amount of inquiries on people that would love to be able to bring their different, you know, convention to the area. So I think
you have stepped through it very slowly, very methodically, and I would imagine that's probably been on purpose, so that you've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted and that kind of thing. And that's probably a concern.
One thing I'd like to, where we feel very confident, is the actual team that we put in place.
Okay.
For example, the commercial CSL, which is Bill Kruger, he is the top guy as far as convention facilities. We've also got in touch with the architect that actually designs these, that works very closely with Mr. Kruger. We've got Bill Kauffman on our team. We brought in Dave French, who is a local architect that has done a lot of, who's done a lot of projects. And then we've got Gary Fletcher on our team. So really between those 5 different people, that's a group that we've assembled on the county's end, and we feel very comfortable with the information that we're getting. And in my mind, we'd be hard pressed to assemble a better team, because as commissioners, we really need to take the 30,000, 30,000 foot view. We're not the ones that are in saying, I don't like the front doors of the convention. I don't like
purple color instead of a red color.
I tell you, when we met with the architect, he came out. He said, you've got a facility of X amount of square foot. You should have X amount of, just like on loading docks. You know, you need X amount of loading docks for a facility this size. You need you need X amount of breakout rooms. You need to have the configuration of the exhibit a certain size, just so they're able to split them up in smaller things. So just all those kind of industry, I guess, standards or industry norms, things that you really need to do to be successful. So we've brought in a great group to help put this thing together.
So you think that we'll see the shovel in the ground sometime after the beginning of next year, 2013?
Yes, I would say probably sometime in spring.
Okay.
The Baker College piece, they're ready to go. Okay. They are going to be going very quick. Baker actually, before they got involved with this project, they had been looking pretty seriously for a 2 to 3 year period as far as putting a culinary school. And just when this came together, they thought that they'd be a great fit. And I know you're going to see them turning dirt very soon.
I don't know if you guys provided it or I saw it someplace else, but Connie Harrison showed us the video of the school over in Manistee. And what Muskegon. And what an impressive facility. And it really is exciting to have that kind of a school come here.
700 students involved in that school in Muskegon, and we've spoke to the city manager, and there's been different articles, just have been a huge shot in the arm for them as part of downtown Muskegon. Ironically, I was just in Traverse City last weekend, and one of the articles talked about their culinary school there that they have in Traverse City, how it has just made all the restaurants and really raised the whole talent level in general in that area. And I can tell you, I've ate at some of the best restaurants I've ate at a long time up there. Yeah. So that piece to the whole thing is pretty exciting. And just the amount of activity. I always say nobody wants to be the first one to put their toe in the water, so to speak, but you see another hotel project that got announced in Port Huron. We had met with those people. They said, if you go, we go. We've had a lot of other inquiries on other things. And when you get some excitement, you get some people, some things building, you get some people want to invest money, and that's really the big piece of it.
What else is on your busy plate at this point?
Oh, geez.
Well, you just happen to have a drawing here.
Yes, we do.
Well,
Talk to me about
We're going
this.
to talk a little bit about the St. Clair Industrial Park because I know a lot of people obviously in town have seen the property being cleared out there, that the county is actually paying for the clearing and actually participating in the project. When
People
you
are
look,
probably saying, why is that happening?
why does that happen? When you look countywide, we identify pieces of property, large parcels that have proper infrastructure, water, sewer, proper gas capacity, proper electricity, all the above. And we've had more inquiries in the last 6 months than we have in a long time. I've been on the board 7.5 years, and generally I get the first opportunity to see the majority of the people that inquire are the things that may potentially locate in St. Clair County. So we've had more inquiries in the last, literally in the last 6 months than we have in a long time. And the piece of property located on Range Road, it kept coming up on the radar screen because it has all those pieces of the puzzle, so to speak. But the one portion that was probably a little bit lagging was just the turnaround ready development pieces we so often talk about. If you look at the process, a lot of these companies have buildings designed, they're looking for a place to put them. Okay. So generally a 60 to 90 day window on some of these. That, yeah, extremely quick. Because we like it or not, we're still heavily automotive based.
Correct.
A lot of these people we're talking with are tier 1 suppliers that supply Ford, the Chryslers, the General Motors. And the piece of property had an existing wetlands permit. Attached to it. It was 1 acre of mitigation for 105. Yep, and it's already been through. It's already been permitted, and just the piece of the clearing piece. Because when you're in a governmental sector, you deal a little bit different than the private sector. You don't get on the phone and say, "Hey, Bill, get out there tomorrow and start clearing this thing." We had to go through the bidding process, which is a 30-day window that we had to, put the bids out for. It was a week to award, then you have to give the individuals X amount of time to clear, and it was 60 days in a clearing. This, from the time we started till the completion, was roughly 100 days. Okay. That you would have to do no matter who came along. So company. So we really looked at this. Everything's in place. We talked to the city of St. Clair, said the county would like to participate. And keep in mind, this is on the tax rolls for zero at this current time. And then the city has some repayments to the state. So we really think the proper infrastructure's there. The county can get behind this because currently at the site there's roughly $2.7 million that's invested in the site. There's grants and things like that attached to it. So when you start looking countywide at large pieces of property and which ones are really ready to go and which ones are really development ready, they're not out there. They don't exist. We've talked before about trying to do a large assembly on the county's end because when the Chrysler plant happened in Marysville, that was literally the only piece of property that was available of that size in the county with the proper infrastructure, as I'd like to emphasize, because I know everybody and their brother always says, yeah, I got 200 acres out in the middle of nowhere, but no water, no sewer, not the proper capacity as far as electrical to gas and everything else. This site makes a lot of sense.
To give people a little feel of where they're at, this is the St. Clair Middle School down on the bottom here, and this is the existing Haas Industrial Park. This is Yankee Road, and on the side there is Range Road. So this piece here is that part of the industrial park?
Correct. That's the existing piece that if you go in there, that's where the road goes and then the road stops. And then
the piece you're looking at now,
we cleared that, which was an additional, this was originally was roughly 35 acres. You can see here on the map, this is roughly 74, give or take. This was the piece that was, the wooded piece that needed to be cleared. I don't think people realize how big a piece that property is.
No, until you see it when you're running down Range Road from just south of the WPHM radio towers there. It really starts, and then it just keeps going and going and going.
Well, and that's what really drove us to doing this is the EDA was telling us as they were bringing people out to look at it.
They couldn't get a feel for it?
Exactly. They couldn't feel. You take them out to the end of the road there, and you drive them to the end of the road and get out of the car, and you'd look, and well, what do you see? You see trees. Once you start clearing it and you realize how expansive that piece of property is, then they can envision their manufacturing facility located on the site. So that certainly makes the site much easier to sell, along with being development ready, as Jeff pointed out. It is so important. It used to be that development ready meant you had roads and you had water and sewer. Well, nowadays it means a lot more than that because of these quick turnarounds and because it's so competitive to get a plant, a major plant, especially a Tier 1 plant located in your community or even in your state.
So you've got railroad right here.
Yes.
You've got, I'm looking at the TTE, you obviously got power, because the power is coming in.
Yep.
So you've got everything ready to go except the people.
Close on some companies. Like I said,
Good.
we've had more people kicking the tires, so to speak, in a long time. This has been a long time coming, too. This piece of property, as you know, I mean, it's no secret, the city, I think in 2000 or 2001 is when they got involved in it.
Yep.
But from us, from the county-wide perspective, when we started looking at other pieces that were available with all that, it made sense. And this isn't just Jeff Bohm from St. Clair talking about this. This is 7 other commissioners sitting down, going through the process with the EDA, the different, you know, checklists, so to speak, that these companies are looking for. And so it made sense for us to participate, because when the first company does come, we receive 5.6 mills non-homestead of anything that locates anywhere in St. Clair. The county does. And then the city has a taxing benefit to it. And ironically, St. Clair Township has a taxing benefit of this of 2 mills too, because they did the annexation at the time. So really, between the city, the county, and St. Clair Township, we've sat down as a group and really have had some great conversations. Good. And who's going to be able to participate. And this is the piece that we're all going to be getting behind and want to see something good things happen.
Do you have a feeling, and I don't want to hedge any bets here or scare anybody off, but does it look good for beginning of 2013 that you might have somebody in that piece, or is it too early to say? Too early to say.
Too early to say. What I can tell you is when I picked this up from the EDA today, we talked a little bit about what's going on in St. Clair and what's really going on in the county as a whole. And a lot of people don't realize that our vacancy rate on industrial buildings is very, very low, extremely low. And what's nice about St. Clair is that we've got an existing industrial park immediately south of here, very, very low vacancy rate. And you've got room for expansion. There are other industrial parks in the county that have high occupancy rates, but they have nowhere to go. They are built out. So we really do need some additional land to expand our manufacturing base, and there has been a lot of growth in Michigan in manufacturing, and as Jeff indicated, we're getting more inquiries now than we have in years. So things are looking up.
Good.
They're looking favorable.
It's a nice smile on your face.
Yes. 3 years ago, the phone wasn't ringing.
Right.
And it is, like it or not, it's automotive based. And like I tell everybody, when you're selling 17 million units and you're selling 10, there's a whole lot more people working when you're selling 17. But I think the auto industry now, if you look at it, they can even be profitable at a 10.5, 11 million kind of number, where before they had to be at 16.5, 17 million to do those kind of sales. So we're excited, and we're going to I don't think there's any question that everybody that the county board is the jobs. I don't care if you're sitting on the city councils, the townships, the county. Jobs is your first priority. How do you get there? That's where we can have differences in opinion. But I know, dealing with these companies, the development ready piece is an absolute must, and that's why the county is participating in the project, because it's a benefit for everybody.
Well, it should be. Go ahead.
In both of these projects we've talked about today are about jobs. That the Thomas Edison Inn project, that's going to create over 200 jobs. New jobs. It protects and preserves about 80 jobs that are currently existing, that if the Edison Inn shut down, which was a real possibility, those are 80 jobs that would have been lost, plus the spin-off effect that we would have seen as a result. So both of these projects are about creating opportunities for jobs. Without the private sector investment, the public sector investment in the Edison Inn project, that private sector investment wouldn't have occurred. And the same here. Without the public sector stepping up and getting this site ready to go, helping with the marketing of it, you wouldn't see the private sector investment that you will see out there.
Well, that's good. It's good to have you back and come back and talk to us about these things. As I know the public is concerned. There was lots of, what are they doing cutting that grass out there? You know, and until you get a good explanation, it's always got rumors going. So that's good. And the same with the Thomas Edison development. There's been obviously lots of editorials, lots of letters to the editor, but step by step, it's starting to come to fruition, and people can see what it's going to be in the long run.
Took a little bit longer than we anticipated, but it had some new market tax credits along with some USDA guarantees, which the banks still have to make the loans locally, which still happens. It's not free money, as so many people think that it is. It was a very complex financing mechanism, and that's why it took a little bit longer than
Thank God you had Bill with you.
Mr.
Controller there knew it.
Like I said, we got a good team assembled, and I feel very confident about that. And ultimately, that's what our role is. I think as commissioners, to put the right people in place to, direct it.
Mr. Kauffman, anything else?
That's it.
Good job, sir.
Much, Paul.
Mr. Bohm, nice seeing you.
Thank you.
That's about it for this edition of the Roundtable. Thanks very much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Paul Dingeman.